Good morning. Welcome back to Mull. Very calm morning. I've come back to Grass Point thinking that's where I get away from the mids. They have followed me today. It's quite horrendous. No wind at all. And not good. So I'll crack on with it. And this is the third in our sequence of talks about major organs and the benefits that exercise have to them. And today we're going to talk about the brain. And the message is, could training make you smarter? And it's not totally untrue. So, our brain is our thought center, our control center, and it's obviously protected within a solid structure, our skull. And along with the spinal cord, it acts as our central nervous system. So, nerve impulses come from the brain, move down the spinal cord, and out into the rest of the body um, to perform body functions and to perform motor movements as well. And that's actually what most of the brain is taken up for. So a lot of people, I guess, would think that the brain is about remembering facts um, and, and other sort of information, and really most of the brain is taken up with movement. Um, and, and that's an important fact to remember when we're talking about the effect exercise has. So, could exercise have a direct effect upon the size of your brain? Well, yes, it does. So, many studies have shown that aerobic exercise, especially that with a few elements of high intensity interspaced in the training, actually increase the volume of the brain, and especially the area that's responsible for memory and thinking, which is the hippocampus. And also, when we exercise, our insulin levels are better controlled. We have less inflammation, and also we stimulate growth factors within the brain that create a sort of healthy area for our brain cells to exist in, and that can also increase the amount of blood vessels in the brain too. And also the abundance and survival of existing cells. And without getting too scientific, here's your big words for this morning, or your fancy science. It triggers the expansion of the BDNF gene. What does that mean? It's the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And basically what that means is the brain creates proteins, excuse me, I think that was another midge going down. The brain creates proteins which stimulate the growth of new cells. And that also protects existing cells, and it also improves the ability to transmit signals between those cells, which is the basis of learning and memory, basically. So exercise doesn't just have a generative effect in terms of producing new cells, it has a restorative effect on those that are already there and makes them more effective. There's a thought for the morning, eh? Other benefits, well, obviously, like all other body organs, when we exercise, we increase blood flow. So we're increasing the amount of nutrients that's getting to the brain. We're increasing the amount of oxygen that's getting to the brain so it can perform all its functions more effectively. It increases our alertness and our motivation and our attention. And this is a really important factor because how many schools out there actually have a workout first thing in the morning? So exercise effectively gets the brain ready to learn. It puts it into a position where it's more attentive, and it's ready for the influx of information, and it will store it better as well. Its hard drive works better if it's exercised just beforehand. So if you are studying for something, you're doing a course, or you need to focus on something at work, the best thing to do beforehand is actually do a workout. And it's something we should be encouraging a lot more with our schools and also our work practices as well. First thing we should be doing is elevating our heart rate and basically priming our brain to actually do some work and to retain that information. It's something I've been doing a lot with the little one over the course of lockdown. We've been doing Joe Wicks every morning, before we get down to homeschooling. And I know that has a major effect on her. If we don't do any activity in the morning, she's more lethargic and she's much harder to work with. So there's a thought going forward. Maybe a benefit that will come from lockdown is that more schools will actually adopt that approach, having seen the effect that Joe has had. And also something we spoke about before is that regular exercise has a profound effect upon the sort of chemicals that are produced in the brain, our feel-good chemicals. So things like dopamine increases, and dopamine is your reward chemical. And obviously endorphins are being produced by the brain. They are sort of feel-good chemicals, give us a nice euphoric high and a feeling of achievement, and they help to build self-confidence. We also have the exercise combats your fight or flight response. So your release of cortisol, effectively. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and it is turned on during exercise because it puts us in an alert stage. It releases sugars into the body as well. It increases the dilation of the arteries, and it speeds up heart rate, speeds up breathing rate, and that's a good thing. That's what we want to happen when we start to exercise. That's not a good thing if it's turned on long term and we're suffering with stress, anxiety, and that can often lead to depressive disorders. So by exercising, although we get that initial turn on of cortisol to help us through that period, it helps to combat and control stress levels long term and well after the exercise is actually finished. And also our release of serotonin. Serotonin is our feel-good chemical. And again, we get a bigger release of serotonin when we exercise, and obviously we feel good about that when we've finished our workout session. And also, exercise is being recognized now as one of the best treatments for ADHD. So we're seeing a huge increase in that disorder in our kids these days. A lot of it potentially linked to the mass increase in media sources and the fact that kids aren't moving as much when they're young. So again, really important that our children are being active when they're younger, and really good for us as well because of the increase in volume, in brain size, and the fact that we're transmitting signals better and we're restoring brain cells. It means as we get older, that degenerative effect where we tend to lose brain tissue can actually be reversed, and that has a huge impact for risk of things like dementia. So really worth thinking at any time in your life. Doesn't matter if you haven't trained for a long time, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to start improving the situation. And we also see that those with things like Alzheimer's, their function improves if they start exercising even in later life. So really something that we should be doing on a regular basis to protect our brain, make it more effective, make it a better control center, basically. And getting away from that brain fog that you might suffer with sometimes. And I know a lot of people have been talking about that during lockdown. So if that's happening to you, best thing you do, get outside and get a nice walk in. And the exercise that helps with the brain really is aerobic exercise. It's not so much the resistance work. Now that is really important for strength and for balance, for coordination, and for helping our bones develop and be strong. But studies are showing that's not really helping the brain. It's the aerobic exercise where we're getting our heart rate up for a sustained period of time, and we're getting into a slightly more uncomfortable position. So really important that we have both forms of exercise going on, that we're getting our cardiovascular aerobic exercise in our walks, our cycles, our swimming, but also that we're getting the resistance work in as well. So it's a cross-training effect, and then we get the maximum benefits from that. And if you are outside today and you manage to go walking somewhere in forest or a natural environment like this, then you get the added benefits of being in nature, obviously, and that has a profound effect on our brain too. And another great way of controlling that fight or flight response and reducing stress levels and basically making us feel good about ourselves, not to mention the effect it has upon our blood pressure in terms of lowering that, and also our immune system in terms of promoting our killer cells, the stuff that take out the nasty infections. So all in all, exercise, an amazing thing for your brain. And remember as well, guys, water. Um, you know, our brain, like all our organs, is a high percentage water, and it needs rehydration, especially on days like this. And that's something we might talk about next week, because at the minute we are in a period where it's a bit hotter, a bit warmer outside, more humid many days. And that has a profound effect upon our hydration levels. So maybe we'll talk a little about the effect of that, and how we can make sure we combat effects of dehydration. So I have been eaten to pieces, and I'm going to get away home and get some breakfast, and I hope you have a lovely day. One of us will be back later on with exercise of the day. I think it's Ian Malarvey today. And have a lovely weekend, guys, and I will see you on Monday. Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.